Hey everybody, it's John with Contract Diagnostics. We're talking about balancing risk today. And we recently have seen an increase in the number of risky physician agreements that we're looking at. I received an email from Laura, one of our associates here this morning, and she said that this thing just seemed a little bit over the top. And she laid it out to me, and it seemed very concerning from our end. So the physician needed to give the employer 120 days to terminate at any time. So 120 days needed to be given to the employer in order to leave the position. However, the employer only had 30 days to give the physician. On top of that, they could terminate during a probationary period, which was defined as the first 6 months of the job. And they could terminate immediately for no reason at all during the probationary period. Now, I didn't look at the deal, so I don't know if they were signing dollars or anything else included that the physician may or may not have to return if and when the contract was terminated. But lots of risk, okay? You've got a disproportionate balance in the amount of time needed to be given to terminate the agreement without cause. That's unfair. It should always be mutual between both parties. 60, 90, or 120-day no-cause termination is what we see in most physician agreements. Now, the fact that the physician had to give 120 and the employer only 30 is concerning, but more concerning is the probationary period. We see these from time to time. We've seen them more and more, it seems like, this last year and a half. And what a probationary period is, it's what it sounds like. The employer can terminate at any time during those, it's usually 90 days. This one was 6 months. There might be a less notice. In case the employer had a 90-day notice in the contract, it might be a 30-day notice during the probationary period. However, this contract said that they could terminate immediately for any reason whatsoever within the probationary period, which was 6 months. And I get it. If the employer hires somebody, they're just not a fit, they don't want to keep them around. Maybe they made a bad decision. I would say that the employer's bad decision to hire a particular physician shouldn't all that risk fall on the doctor. The employer has the risk. It's their fault. They're the ones that have the big potential upside in terms of revenue and building a business around the physician's skill set. So a probationary period we don't like at all. We feel if there is a probationary period that both parties would be able to terminate at that given time. And immediate is no good. 30 days is no good. 60 would be a minimum of what I would want to see. And of course, I'd like their contract to say something about being obligated to be paid a year's salary if possible, or not having to pay back a signing bonus, or having a severance package, or at a minimum, if they elect not to have them work that 6 months, they should be compensated for those 6 months. It's a giant pain for a physician to move clear across the country or even to another state or even across town and be terminated for maybe a reason or no apparent reason immediately inside of a probationary period. It just doesn't seem fair for the ranks of a physician. Now, other things that we saw in this particular contract, and this is small nuanced language. So if the contract's terminated, maybe they can accelerate it. So accelerated termination is common. We see it very often. However, if the employer decides and elects to accelerate the notice period, so for example, you have to give 90 days and you write a letter saying, this is my 90-day notice, my last day will be on this particular day. You need to work those 90 days. But the employer oftentimes retains the power to say, no, we're going to accelerate it. So just finish out your week and then go home, and we don't need you. And I understand maybe the employer doesn't want you around their staff if you don't want to be here. Maybe they feel you're unengaged, you're not going to provide great care. If you're a surgeon, maybe they don't want you doing cases to have complications or follow-ups later with a different surgeon. It's not maybe the best for continuity of care. However, that's the employer's decision. So most agreements say that the employer will pay you for any time that you don't work during those 90 days. Now, whether they terminate and end your benefits and write a check for the 90 days, then you don't have benefits, or whether they just keep you on payroll and keep a check coming in every other week or whatever they do for you, that's typically a decision made by the employer. But if there's base and bonus, the agreement should say you'll be paid your base salary through your last day. It should say you'll be paid your average monthly earnings through your last day. So if your base pay is $20,000 in a month, but you earn $10,000 in a production bonus, I don't want them to accelerate your 3 months notice and give you $60,000. I want them to give you $90,000, because if you would have worked, and maybe you're willing to work, you would have earned 90. And that difference of 60 to 90,000 in the example can be significant for most families. Now, this contract that Laura messaged me on, they could accelerate it to tomorrow, and they don't have to pay you anything. They only have to pay you through your last day worked. So small nuances in contract language can be very, very costly, which is why, of course, we think every physician employment contract should be reviewed. That's what we do here at Contract Diagnostics. We do thousands of them in a year. We touch many more thousands through educational efforts or inquiries that you can, of course, sign up with one of our lectures or do a free 15-minute inquiry on our website, contractdiagnostics.com. But this was an interesting email that I received from Laura. And again, we talked about it, and we love to go over these things in a group setting here. And this contract had a disproportionate amount of risk on the physician. The way I looked at it was the physician had all of the risk. They're on probation. They may not make it through 6 months. They don't need to get paid anything according to the employer. The employer has no risk. We can terminate you immediately. Now, I don't believe there was damages. I saw one yesterday that said if you quit within 2 years, you have to pay us all your credentialing fees back. So lots of nuances can be in employment contracts, but those termination provisions and probationary provisions and accelerated notice provisions can be very, very important. So make sure you understand them. Make sure the contract is very clear. And if you'd like us to tell you if it's clear or not clear, if it lines up with industry standards or not, that's what we do every single day. I don't know how many days in a year, but a lot of them. We're open 6 in the morning till 9 at night, most every day of the week. So we always have times to accommodate your busy schedules. And again, I'm John at Contract Diagnostics. If we can help with anything, just reach out.